And now Kutztown University Athletics and KUR present to you this week's edition of the Golden Bear Beat. This weekly radio program brings to you an in-depth look at the week in sports around campus, including game highlights, player and coach interviews, and an analysis of recent sporting events. Live on campus, let's send it to our host, Adam Dobrowolski.
And good afternoon, everyone, as we get to the Kutztown University Fall Athletics Preview Show here this afternoon on KUR. Your host again, Adam Dobrowolski, as we take a look today at three of the team sports which will be getting underway either today or Saturday. That is soccer, volleyball, and field hockey. We also take a look at some of the individual and team sports that work together, cross country, golf, and tennis, all on the docket here today on KUR. And it's an exciting time of the year, obviously, as last week we had the KUR football preview show looking at the Golden Bears as they prepare for their season. They kick off this upcoming Saturday. But for here this edition, we want to get you the rest of the fall sports that are getting underway. A lot of interesting stories, a lot of optimism going on for all these teams coming into the fall, and kind of the common theme that you'll find out over the next hour from these teams is the incoming freshmen and transfers are all contributing in practice and showing their worth, and a chance to build a deep program in 9 different sports, whether you're looking at men's and women's tennis, golf, men's and women's cross country, and obviously for football, and then the 3 team sports which we'll be getting to today in soccer, field hockey, and volleyball. But let's get right down to the business as we'll start things off with one of the Golden Bears teams that have been successful throughout the years, especially under head coach Eric Burstein. We take a look at the Kutztown University women's soccer team. Fickle in nature, collegiate athletics is often about an outlook of a team's season changing in one swift moment or one impactful event. In 2012, the Kutztown soccer team learned that lesson harder than ever before. As the regular season wrapped up for the Golden Bears, they ended the conference mark in the PSAC with a 9-3-2 record. Unfortunately, the cards fell against KU after that. Winning outcomes in the final weekend for Edinburgh and Gannon dropped Kutztown to the 5th seed in the PSAC championship tournament. This turned out to be a tournament in which the Golden Bears could not truly prepare for due to Hurricane Sandy causing the effects here on the Kutztown campus to cancel classes and, of course, make the fields unable to play on. Meanwhile, in the first round of the PSAC tournament, a much fresher Edinburgh team hosted Kutztown and defeated the Maroon and Gold 2-4. Added a tournament championship run by 7th-seeded Slippery Rock, and Kutztown's season would abruptly end without an NCAA tournament at-large bid. At 11-6-2, Kutztown showed a great combination of youthful talent and hungry production, but it ultimately ended short of expectations. For 2013, most of the roster returns in an attempt to send Kutztown back to the postseason. Graduating only 2 seniors, the Golden Bears returned their top 4 scorers, as well as the defensive centerpieces of a team that allowed only 17 goals all of last season. So for this Kutztown team, obviously, the question is, what can they do to build upon what they had last year with a very young team? First things first, we hear from head coach Eric Burstein and talking about some of the preseason lessons that the Golden Bears can learn.
Overall, over the course of the 3 preseason games, I think we've seen the best and the worst from our team. We've seen how good we can play, but also how poorly we can play. So I think we've identified the fact that we need to come engaged for every game. I think they understand that they have to take every game very seriously because their focus and their energy has to accompany them every time they play, or our performances aren't nearly as good.
For the Golden Bears, they began off their preseason with 3 scrimmages, one against TCNJ, a top and Division III program, and then one against the 2-time defending champions in Division III, Messiah College, before wrapping up their preseason schedule with Penn State Berks. But obviously, the scrimmages is not just about outcomes, but what the team can do. The team can do to ease their way into a pace of play for the freshmen and kind of build that team chemistry that's going on for the team. So for the Golden Bears, looking at kind of the little things for this team, returning your top scorer in Sam Costello, improving the depth along the way to build up that competition, and again, building upon that defense, which returns the senior in Katie Oliveri, as well as the goalie in Alina Rakowitz, a team that allowed less than 1 goal per game last season. First things first, let's take a look at what's going on up front. And with Sam Costello for the Golden Bears last year, again, she led the team in scoring, put together a nice season in her sophomore campaign, a total of 8 goals and 4 assists for a team-high 20 points. Talking to Costello and talking to Coach Burstein, you get a sense that it's going to be a lot of good things, continuing to build upon what was last year for a young core of forward players.
Well, the one thing with both of them is they're playing the best soccer they've ever played. So obviously in our program, we're very big about developing players. You know, freshmen come in, they go through a bit of a learning curve. Sophomore year, there's some ups and downs. And when they get to their junior year, they're kind of flowing in a pretty good pattern. So, you know, right now, Sam and Taylor are both playing probably the best soccer they've ever played. So we do anticipate them having a pretty significant impact for us, not just game to game, but on the score sheet as well.
And Coach Eric Burstein mentioning also Taylor Higgins, a fellow junior forward who had a lot of success last year as a sophomore. 5 goals and 1 assist, 11 points for the team. She and Costello, 2 of the leaders, but the top 4 returning scorers on the team, or the top 4 scorers, I should say, are all returning to the team. You also have Diana Malanga with 5 goals, 3 assists, 13 points total, and a sophomore captain. And then you have Mariah Dim, who scored 6 goals off the bench last year. So this is a team that can really get things going. But there is more to talk about, improving depth, and that's something that Sam Costello, the junior, pointed out.
Our back line, definitely. We have a lot of depth in that area. Incoming freshman Cassie, just from scrimmages, I've seen, she's stepped up a whole lot. In the midfield, we also have a lot of depth in there, too. So I think that with that amount of depth that we'll be able to rotate and we'll be able to, count on people, subs and everything.
Sam there mentioning Cassie Schmidt. We'll talk about her momentarily as one of the young up-and-coming players on the defensive side. But to continue with the theme up front, some of the things going on with the Golden Bears, you have a player who can very much become just like Sam Costello and a freshman, and Caitlin Jacksheimer. Costello talked about that dynamic.
Definitely, I have to say Jax, incoming freshman. I kind of like to think of her as like a mini-me. I think, playing up top with her would be, we could be a powerhouse team up there, score a lot of goals.
Caitlin Jacksheimer, a freshman from Cedar Cliff, and with her, with Dim, with Taylor Higgins, a chance here for those players to really stand out, but there's even more. In fact, more within the family connection when you look at Taylor Higgins and her younger sister and freshman Morgan. Taylor talked about that sister connection.
It's easy to have a connection, especially with a sibling. I connect with her, and then she's able to connect with the freshman, and we're all so excited. We're all so close. It's going to be exciting, and especially as forwards, we've got a lot of speed up there, so it's exciting.
At midfield, depth also going to be a key for a team that last year used, at the time, 2 freshmen, and Diana Malanga and Taylor Burt, in many minutes. Coach Burstein talking to him last week, looking at the team. He mentioned how much time they put in, and it was a little bit of a trial by fire for Diana and Taylor. And talking to Diana last week, she expressed the advantages of having more depth this year and having last year's trial by fire under her belt.
Well, I really think that we cut ourselves short last year. I mean, there was a lot of situations around that game that kind of altered the way we played. We didn't practice for a week because of the hurricane and everything. But I think this year we're really motivated to do good things because we know that we can win the PSAC tournament this year. And I think that's definitely, that's every team's goal. But I don't think any team's going to work as hard as we will for it. It does help a lot. We just keep continually telling them, look, it's a hard transition, but once you get it, it really does work for you. And I, especially coming from me, being a sophomore captain, I can be look, I was in your shoes last year. I understand. So it's good for them to have me to talk to about. We all done it, but it's most fresh in my mind.
And as you just heard from Diana, also adding in the impact that being a sophomore captain can have on the freshmen coming in, and obviously the time and the experience that Diana got last year. So many minutes, and now as a sophomore captain, that's a leadership that will be understated by some, but will obviously have a huge impact on the team. But along with her, some of the fellow midfielder players, as I mentioned, Taylor Burt, who's a sophomore, but you have Hannah Fenstermacher, who could be a standout junior, and she's done a great job in her time as a Golden Bear. She talked about the increased competition as she steps up her game from sophomore to junior. While she's improving her leadership, she's also getting a push from the younger players.
We came in with a lot of freshmen coming in, and I think the competitiveness has increased, making everybody on the team better, no matter if you're upperclassmen or lower, and I think we're all really excited to get on the field and play.
Overall, this midfield depth is certainly something that Coach Burstein is excited about, and he talked about that.
You know, again, for Di last year, she had to play so much. Her and Taylor Burt, quite frankly, had to play so much in so many minutes through the entire season, where we get to the end of the year and these kids are just dead because it is a grueling season, especially with the travel. So adding people like, you know, Emily Mitchell, Tori D'Angelo, Jordan Davis, now Mariah can drop into that spot, Logan Kramer. These are kids who are all going to come in and really help keep that middle part of the field for us running and keeping our system playing, you know, very good attacking soccer.
Defensively speaking for the Golden Bears, it all starts off with Katie Oliveri, a senior and a captain. Oliveri, the center back for the team last year. She's looking to continue to build upon her great career and try and finish things off strong in her Golden Bear career.
I'm super excited. It's kind of bittersweet because it's a lot of hard work that you put in, like on and off the season. But I'm just really excited to get the season going. ESU is our opener game, so we're all pretty excited about that. And of course, senior year always gives me extra motivation. You know, it's the last time you want to go out with the best season as possible.
Coach Burstein also mentioned Oliveri, and in particular talked about her leadership and what she does to help the rest of the team see the field and know how to move the plays forward, especially in transition.
She really understands how the system works, and she's able to explain it as well. So even during the run of the game, where, you know, I might not be able to project my voice to get everybody's attention in the back line, Katie can solve a lot of the problems we're having, and she's very good at communicating those issues with me so that we can address it as a team and put it on the field, show it, and make the changes. So it's not that she can not only can she do what we ask, she knows how to instruct it so the people around her will also be able to do what she needs them to do.
For the Golden Bears, you also look at the defensive side with some transfers. Yes, we mentioned some younger players who are coming in, freshmen, but transfers and some big key pickups from abroad for Eric Burstein, including a junior in Alyssa Donahue, a transfer from Mercer County Community College in New Jersey. She will be a big factor on the team's defense and a chance for a player who's really stood out. You know, don't know sometimes what will happen from a community college player moving up to the Division II level, but a chance here, and so far so good through preseason for Donahue. She talked about the adjustments she's had made so far.
I have a little bit of experience coming from the junior college before here because it's a completely different game than high school. You go from high school where girls are not as aggressive, not as fast, and then you come to college and everyone's pretty much on the same level, except for coming here, it's a completely different level. So it's still an adjustment. So
for the Golden Bears, you hear a lot of the good things going on schematically, but it all comes together with how well the goalkeeping will do. Alina Rakowitz stepped in to the starting role in the middle of last season and did a great job, but she might be getting pushed a little bit. Jess Campbell is standing out as well, and Coach Burstein talked about the guidance of Rakowitz, and then Katie Oliveri talked about the depth at goalie.
I think Alina's going to be pushed quite a bit this year, and I think she knows that, but I think she welcomes that. She's not the type of person who shies away from a challenge. Very technical goalkeeper, but also understands our back line and how we want to play. So she's able to not only make saves and keep shutouts, but she's also able to organize our team defensively in a manner that helps her reduce the number of shots she has to stop in order to get her shutout.
We definitely have depth as far as goalkeeping. And like with Alina, she can help the underclassmen goalkeepers and getting them the right kind of training that she's used to, and I'm sure that they will all get their opportunity. So no matter if it's Alina, she's been the starting goalie, but Jess can also get her opportunity, and Tori as well. So I think as long as they stay focused and just put their heart into it, I think they'll get their shot.
Two keys that will bring it all together. First things first, the team chemistry, something that can make or break a team's season, especially in such a deep conference like the PSAC, a conference that saw the Golden Bears again go 9-3-2 last year in conference play, but finished as a 5th seed for the tournament. So this is a deep conference, and pretty much the entire schedule is against the PSAC. So that team chemistry is a key. And we asked a freshman in Caitlin Jacksheimer her thought on the team's chemistry in preseason.
Honestly, all the freshmen have come together really fast. It's kind of crazy. We live in the same hall, so that probably contributes to that. The upperclassmen are so nice. I really look up to a couple of the target forwards like Sam, trying to just play like she does, as well as some of the outside target forwards like Tess and all them. And
finally here we talk about that schedule. For the Golden Bears, it's going to be tough week in and week out. When you look at it, their schedule has only one game outside the PSAC. That's Monday, October 28th against Alderson Brodus, but the rest of it against the PSAC conference that is just as deep as every year. Beginning the season off in just about 40 minutes at East Stroudsburg, but Saturday on the Golden Bear Network, the first home game, and it's against the Westchester team that was the 2 seed last year, but you have some tough games on the road that Coach Burstein mentioned, and as he kind of looked at it, obviously it's going to be tough either way, but the placement is what stands out in the schedule.
This year, it's really, I say this is probably the hardest schedule we've ever had, not because the teams are significantly different. It's the order in which we play them and where we play them. Going to games that stand out to me, having to play Slippery Rock away, huge game. Great team, well coached, always competitive, a great little rivalry, but on the road, so that's hard. Going to Stroudsburg, first game, tough challenge. Having Westchester anywhere, tough challenge. So, Shippensburg away, tough challenge. I mean, a lot of the games that we have to play, we're playing good teams in the wrong locations. So we want to have basically 18 home games. That would really be nice, but that's not really possible. So the order in which we play these teams this year and where we have to play them are going to be a huge challenge. So we've told the girls that we have to take everything one game at a time, and we have to be able to balance out our successes and our defeats and just kind of say, okay, take it one step at a time, not get too excited about one thing or too down about another.
So for the 2013 women's soccer team, obviously the pieces are in place, but the question is, with a tough schedule and still moving parts, younger players working with already young, experienced players, the question is, can it all come together with team chemistry, and can they fight through the tough days of PSAC conference soccer? The season once again begins this afternoon at Slippery Rock. And next we move on to Kutztown University cross country. The men and women will begin their season this weekend, as well as they will have not too far to travel for their first meet at Shippensburg, but a team on the women's side which was so close to the national meet last year, but did not make it as a team. They're ranked 4th in the PSAC coaches poll for this season. For the men, they're ranked 7th, but a team that does have some leading seniors, especially that of Zach Fleming, who's expected to have a standout season for the Golden Bears. So let's get right down to it. Let's look at what's going on with Coach Ray Hoffman's team. First things first, looking at the women's side, a team that has a lot of chemistry and a lot of returning players, but also some good transfers coming in. You look at Ashley Bauer, a former swimmer at Bloomsburg, a graduate student, now running cross-country for the Golden Bears. Kristen Slack, who's in her senior year, began her career in track and field. And then obviously you have some of the leading runners in Jen Cleary, Molly McDonald, and Frances McNally, among others, that could make this team a deep team that has several runners who might not necessarily be upper echelon, but right there in that second tier where they all push each other and give the Golden Bears a chance to finish the top end of the PSAC, as well as a chance to make it to the national tournament. But first things first, preseason, and the team came in prepared, according to Coach Hoffman.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with our preseason camp. I think for the first time probably in the 16 years that I've been here, we've had a very, very successful camp where both squads every athlete on both squads came in prepared. So that makes life a lot easier for me on my end, and it gets us right into our training program that we want to be following. Doesn't make me adjust things where I have to kind of, lean back a little bit here or there. I can just go into right what I want to do with them.
For the Golden Bears, when you look at this women's side, I mentioned that chemistry. Part of it came in the off-season, as Jen Cleary, senior runner, explained.
That's definitely a big motivating factor for us. We have high goals for ourselves. We've done really well in the past. This year, particularly, though, I noticed the girls, I'm not sure about the guys, but the girls put together a Facebook group, and we were all just, every day, someone was saying something, motivating, encouraging, positive. And so even though I never once saw these girls or ran with them over the summer, I felt still connected to them, and I felt like I was still running with them, in a sense. So it was just really great to have that, but then to come back here and actually be with them is totally different. The competitiveness changes everything, like the energy changes, all of that. So we're all just really happy. I think the fuel for the fire has been set now that we're all back together.
On the individual side, Cleary mentioned how her goals are to become an all-conference runner once again this season after doing it 2 years ago. As for some of the juniors, you look at Molly McDonald and Frances McNally, they have their own goals set. First things first, McDonald talked about what it's going to take for her to make the next step.
I thought back to last year a lot and how close we were to going to nationals, and just thinking we're that close, I'm going to step it up that much more to hopefully this year for us to make it as a team. And I know my teammates were putting in the work, so I'm not going to let them down either.
As for McNally, she just talked about the expectations set forth by herself and her coaching staff now that she's a junior and has a pair of years under her belt.
I think it's a huge step up because I think your teammates and your coach expect a lot more of you when you become an upperclassman, because I've been through this program for 2 years now. I know what goes on, what it takes to be good in the conference and in the region and stuff. So, and now I can feel more of a leader on the team.
As for the men's side, they are led by Zach Fleming, who has a lot of early excitement and an ultimate goal for his season in the fall.
I'm very eager. We're upping up the mileage for me and Jake and maybe Joe when he gets a little healthier, and I'm excited for that. And the home meet's actually going to be for PSACs too, so it'll be really exciting to get to know our course in the next 2 weeks. My ultimate goal is top 10 at regionals and to break 25 in the 10K.
So obviously for Fleming, he sets his sights high, but he also mentioned Jake Austin, a senior, and Joe Dias, a redshirt senior. These guys will be leading the Golden Bears in the pack, especially though Fleming. And that was the interesting dynamic, a little bit difference between the men and the women and how they run these races. And Coach Hoffman talked about the difference in team strategies.
Yeah, it kind of differs with both teams. When you're looking at the men's team, we have a real big impact runner up front in Zach Fleming. He's basically going to be the guy that's going to go out there and kind of bang with the big boys in every race. The rest of our group, guys like Joe Dias, Jake Austin, Alex Watson, some of the freshmen from last year, the sophomores, Jack Inglis, Andrew Bagali, Mark Paffel, they're going to be a nice pack of guys. If we can group them up together and keep them all within 15 to 20 seconds of each other and having a big impact runner up front, that's going to help us move up in the conference right there. On the women's side, I don't know if we have anybody right now that stands out as maybe a top 5 runner in the conference, but we have 7 to 8 girls that I feel can place anywhere between, probably, 10th and 30th in the conference. So if we do a big group like that, that's going to really keep us on a lower scoring end in the overall conference and regional results. So that's going to help us in the long run.
So for the Golden Bears, the question is, what's going to be the mental keys to put this all together? Joe Dias explained his thoughts.
Beyond conditioning, it's going to be mental strength. One thing I learned from Ben or Kendall, actually Coach Dixon now, he does for the track team, is that necessary failure. There's going to be one point this year, guaranteed, bar none, where you're not going to do well. And it's going to suck. And it might not be at the right time. But at the same exact time, the only way you can ever get better is knowing what it's like to be at the bottom. And then now you can appreciate what the top will be. I think having that extra mental fortness, and I hope it happens early, I don't hope it happens late, but just knowing that it's going to be hard at first. You go from a 5K to an 8K to a 10K. The girls only go from a 5K to a 6K. just knowing that, just being aware of that stuff and knowing it's an equal playing field for everybody else, I think will give us a more stronger mental edge.
So for the Golden Bears, their season begins this weekend as they will start things off in Shippensburg, as they will be at the Glenn Piper Invitational tomorrow night. But then next week, the Division II, Division III Challenge here on campus at Kutztown. That will be kind of a prelude for what's to come October 26th in the PSAC Championships, and hopefully for the Golden Bears' sake, men and women's side, they will have a chance to be in the running to finish in the top 3 and qualify for the national tournament. We'll step off to a quick break here on the Golden Bear Beat, but stay tuned. We'll have field hockey as well as golf coming up as we continue our fall preview show. Stay tuned on KUR. And welcome back here on the Golden Bear Beat. Your host, Adam Dobrowolski, as we continue our KU Fall Preview Show. And now take a look at the Kutztown University field hockey team. And the last time someone else other than Betty Westner led the Golden Bears as head coach of the Kutztown field hockey team, Jimmy Carter was president. The Seattle Supersonics, now defunct, were NBA champions. And the first Star Trek motion picture was released, and no, not the one, by J.J. Abrams. That much speaks to what exactly Coach Westner meant to the program and the university over her 33 seasons before retiring this past spring. But after her 344 wins, a new era now dawns for Golden Bears field hockey, and that under new head coach Marcy Schuing. The expectations will be high, but perhaps providing a new voice can lend to some strong positive factors for a field hockey program looking to find its way back to the top half of the PSAC after last year's 5-12 campaign. This is a team that begins with senior leadership, and that in a key position, the central midfield position, and Aaron Reynolds, who was an all-PSAC choice last season. And not just with Marcy Schuing, but the 2 assistant head coaches in Brittany Hansroth and Amber Allenbach. Really a good chance here for Reynolds to be the foundation for this team. And Coach Schuing talked about the excitement of having a key player like Aaron Reynolds leading the way for the Golden Bears. She mentioned how Reynolds was a quote-unquote new head coach's dream. Meanwhile, talking to assistant coach Brittany Hansroth, she broke down things a little bit deeper in detail about the things brought in to helping out Reynolds take her game to the next level this season.
Erin Reynolds is definitely a very talented player. She's a first-team All-American selection, such as myself and Amber. So we know what it's like to be in the PSAC, playing in the PSAC at a high level. She obviously is going to want to earn that title again this year, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure she reaches that potential. And we're just going to work on changing some things up as far as ball movement with her, scanning the field. She's a very talented player, so coming into this season, we were very lucky and fortunate to have her on this team. And we don't have too much work cut out for us. We just, I think, want to focus down on some little things and little tactics with her as far as utilizing her teammates around her and working the ball a little bit more and just getting some more opportunities on goal.
As for Reynolds, she expanded a little bit more upon her plans for some senior improvements, as well as talking about transferring leadership from last year's team. 6 seniors, a strong core of seniors last year that graduated. It's now up to Reynolds to become that new leader.
Last year, I think stepping up into the center mid position, I had to distribute the ball a lot. I'm looking this year to do that more successfully with working as a unit for the team and not working individually. I think that will help us get into the finals and be more successful. I think the biggest thing I'll take from the seniors last year is having fun and taking leadership and talking and communicating and involving everyone and letting the teamwork speak for itself.
Along with Reynolds, you have 2 other key seniors for the Golden Bears. Jamie Koenig, who returns after suffering an ACL tear last year in just the second game of the season. For Koenig, it's about getting back and bringing in that offensive style she had last year, as well as adjusting to the team's new attitude. And Koenig talked about that new attitude.
The coaching staff has been fantastic. They have brought a lot of new training methods to the table, and I think that it's not only going to help us individually, but help us work together as a team, as a unit on the field.
Meanwhile, you have Ellie Skinner, who will play at times midfield and at times defense, a versatile player that Coach Ewing will use in multiple positions. But for Skinner herself, she just talks about how it is to be a senior after all these years and remembering back to the days when she was a freshman.
I just can't believe that it's senior year already. I remember being a freshman, being all nervous, coming to preseason and feeling like I was like the worst player on the team. End up starting freshman year and playing the rest of the years, and here I am as a senior. And it's bittersweet, it's exciting, but hopefully we'll have a great season and finish off my career great.
As we look at the positions, everything starts off with Anna Boehm, who unfortunately heading into the season is now injured, but catching up with Anna before she unfortunately suffered an injury, talking to her in camp, she was looking to build upon her 8 goals from last season. She was talking about the expectations of building upon that.
Last year, yes, was an amazing year for me. This year, as my second year, I hope to do the same thing. We have Jamie back, which hopefully will help. I mean, we lost a few people, but it will still help me on the forward line, push myself, and I can help push her.
Also, what stands out up forward is a nice group of freshmen. And Coach Marcy Ewing talked about some of the freshman forwards, especially one who's standing out.
Up front, Megan Tewald from Northampton High School is one of those diamonds in the rough. Betty told me about her before she left. She said, "You're going to love this kid. She's got a ton of speed, so much speed that almost her feet move faster than her stick does, but we can teach that, and we're going to teach her to kind of control herself a little bit. But once she gets going, you literally can't stop her."
Meanwhile, Anna Boehm built a little bit more upon what Coach Ewing was saying, talking about the freshman class.
Our freshman class this year is absolutely outstanding. They are very outstanding athletes. Mentally, I knew they were coming in strong. I knew they were going to be a good class. I had to push myself. They pushed me to be a better person this year, better than last year already. It's like the first game of the season, and they've already pushed me through preseason. Mentally, I got stronger because I knew I needed to bust my butt because they were going to fight me for my spot, and it's a new coach, so I wasn't guaranteed a spot again.
Beyond what has been done by Tewald up front, you have some midfield players also standing out as well. Liz McKiddish, a freshman from Pittston, who's playing in the midfield, as well as Annalise Gaspich standing out in the midfield. On the defensive side, Jess Strohecker, who comes from West Perry and Landisburg, has a chance to insert herself in the starting lineup at the central defense position and be there for 4 years. But there's also some players who were under Coach Betty Westner last year who are really standing out, including that of Erin Danner. And Danner talked about her new focuses for this upcoming season.
This year we're really focusing on transferring from the back, and she really, like Coach Ewing, she really wants us to be the strong people on the field. Like, she wants us to lead back there and be the voice. And last year we did that too, but she is so focused, like not yelling at us, but on us about being the voice of the field and the eyes and the ears.
Now, obviously, that defensive communication is going to be a big thing for the Golden Bears. Last year, of the 6 seniors, you had Amy Dando, who led all of Division II in defensive saves with 11, being one of those vocal leaders. You had Carly Waltman in goal, one of those vocal leaders. Kayla Denglinger last year as a freshman got some playing experience, was able to push Waltman a little bit, and obviously learned some of the vocal responsibilities that Waltman had. And Kayla talked about not just the impact of Waltman as a goalkeeper, teaching her the ropes, but also about the team's needs for improvement.
Carly always worked really hard, had a really good work ethic, so I tried to just carry that with me. She was a really good, healthy competition between us two. She pushed me, I pushed her to do our best, and I feel like that's going to be the same way with Rachel and I. We always try to encourage each other to go as hard as we can at practice to make the other one better, and so same as last year with Carly and I, that's what Rachel and I plan to do this year. Definitely communication is one of our biggest things we need to work on. We do have a lot of quiet defenders, which
they need to get loud. So hopefully here at the beginning we can definitely get them to voice themselves on the field and off the field too, just to keep that going.
And the Rachel that Denglinger mentioned, Rachel Sanders, will be pushing Denglinger for the starting goalie position. And that was something that Coach Ewing talked about, the goalie battle between those two players.
Well, the bad thing about having two really good goalkeepers is you have to make a decision, but the good thing is that you have two really good goalkeepers. So honestly, right now, I can tell you we still don't have a starter, and it's going to come down to probably the practice before game day, who's on and who's playing well. But Rachel Sanders and Kayla are both just playing fantastic hockey, and so hopefully one of them steps up enough that I can make a final decision. But they've both just done a really good job.
For the Golden Bears, the bad thing about having this type of season with a new head coach, even though you're going to have a new voice, there's going to be a new style, a little bit more current style of teaching, the young excitement, the ability to bond with the players a little bit easier. A player who is closer to the age, or a coach, I should say, closer to the age of the players. The bad thing is you're in the PSAC. There's really no room to rebuild and still be able to win consistently. You look at for the Golden Bears, obviously, a big weekend this weekend, the Joshua W. Westner tournament. Coach Westner will check out the team in their first two games Saturday at 10 a.m. on the Golden Bear Network against Bellarmine, and then the second game will be at 2 p.m. against Mercy. But you look at the PSAC schedule all around, it's tough as you have a pair of games against Slippery Rock, one which will count for the conference, a pair of games against Mercyhurst, again, one will count against the conference. Shippensburg twice. You obviously have the defending champions in Westchester, Bloomsburg, among others. And Coach Ewing talked about the challenges of that PSAC schedule.
The problem with the PSAC is that every single team has talent and every single team is good. There used to be, back in my day when I played, couple bottom-dwelling teams, and there's just not that anymore. You have to come to play against every single team. Even the team that was picked last in our preseason poll is still a good program and still will give every team on that schedule a run for their money.
Overall, Coach Ewing expects this team, if all things pan out the right way, for this team to be in the top half of the PSAC, right in that top middle half of the conference, hopefully competing with teams like the Slippery Rocks of the world who finish in that middle pack. But again, the Golden Bears will begin their season in non-conference play at the Joshua W. Westner tournament, a tournament in which Coach Ewing expects to be 2 wins for the Golden Bears, Saturday against Bellarmine and Mercy. For now, we move on to our next preview, and that of the Kutztown University golf team. And in golf here, we're just going to focus our preview on the fall season for the Golden Bears. Last spring was the key for the progression of the program. It was such a great season last year in the spring for the Golden Bears, where they were able to finish off their year with several wins, including strong play from Mindy Glatfelter, who graduated last year, finished tops in school history in terms of a stroke average per round. But you look at the Golden Bears last year, winning the Lemoyne Invitational, winning the East Stroudsburg Invitational, winning the Dr. Edwin B. Cottrell Invitational, winning the Kutztown Spring Invitational. 4 consecutive wins to close out the spring last season. Really just a fantastic time for the Golden Bears. In the fall, they were able to win the Alvernia Fall Invitational and the Clarion Invitational, finished second in the Kutztown Fall Invitational. So the Golden Bears hoping to continue and build upon that experience and try and focus it around some of their seniors, including that of Jackie Clifton, who Coach Fisher expects to have a breakout year, along with the 2 other top performers in Madison Housel and Lauren Smith.
I think our top 3 players all had a great summer. Starting with Jackie, worked really hard this summer. Breakout year. This is her senior year. I feel she's going to just go crazy with a really, really low scores. Madison and Lauren Smith both worked hard over the summer and look great right now. So I'm expecting them to lower their scores quite significantly.
For Clifton, she spent much of the summer working at a golf course, practicing, obviously, and teaching some children the ways of golf. So she's been working hard in the off season, and she talked about some of the focuses she will have for her fall season here in her senior year.
I focused a lot on my short game this summer. My weakness definitely is putting. I remember last spring I won the Kutztown Invitational, but I had 40 putts with 82, as a final stroke. And this spring, or this semester, I should say, my main focus is my short game and really getting those putts down. And that's really the only thing that will stop me.
As for a fellow senior in Devin Everett, she talked about her expectations of not just becoming one of the stronger golfers on the team, but a senior leader.
We just try to keep the girls, we try to keep their hopes up. Golf is such a mental game that we want them to know that, we've all had our bad rounds. Me especially, coming in freshman year, it's hard. It's really hard to get that mental game, to get that wall built up and to really focus, and we just try to help them as much with their mental game and with everything else that they have going on at school as best we can. And we don't have overly high expectations from them. We just want them to be able to come to us with any problems that they have and understand that we're all going to have our good days and our bad days, and we're going to be there regardless, have each other's backs, and we're going to try to make up for some of the adjustments that they're still making that we've already made.
Everett was one of 5 Golden Bears last year to finish with a stroke average under 90. Glatfelter, the only one who graduated. You have, as mentioned, returning Smith, Clifton, Everett, and Housel, but also standing out a freshman in Madison Beer, and big expectations for her from Coach Fisher. But she talked about why she chose Kutztown and how it'll help her to be a student athlete.
Well, actually, my dad introduced me to golf when I was really young. I'm from New Jersey, so I grew up, my whole family actually plays, so we always play together. And I chose Kutztown because when I was doing recruiting trips, this is the only team and the only team with a coach who actually truly cared about every aspect of your life, not just golf, but everything in general. It was like a dream come true finding Kutztown. I was between a few different schools, but ultimately when it came down to me looking at the girls individually and the girls as a team and the coaches, I knew this was the right choice right away.
Kutztown golf begins its season this Saturday at the Bucknell Invitational, as this one will be a huge tune-up for the Golden Bears. Coach Fisher, as he explained, there's going to be a lot of Division I programs there, so the expectation isn't necessarily to win, but it's to put together strong rounds, compete with some of the Division I teams there, and set things up for 2 weeks from now, and they're at the Clarion Invitational, and hopefully get a win there. Then Saturday and Sunday, October 5th and 6th, there'll be the Kutztown Fall Invitational. They have the Seton Hill Invitational the week after that, and then finally the 19th and the 20th, the PSAC Championships. Coach Robert Fisher talked about the fall expectations for Kutztown golf.
We lost our best player in program history with Minnie Glatfelter, so it's going to be a little bit of transition. We got a really nice freshman golfer in Madison Beer, who's going to be in our top 5 to start the year, and we're hoping that some of our other players can step up their game a little bit more. That's kind of our hope, to pull up the slack for losing Mindy.
So obviously, if you have players like Everett, like Housel, like Smith step up, and you have obviously Clifton with her breakout year and Beer stepping up as a freshman, there's a chance this Golden Bears team continues to win all the much that they have so far this season, or so far over the last 2 years on the golf course. Hopefully, of course, building upon what they did last year, with it all beginning this weekend at the Bucknell Invitational. We're going to step off to another break here on the Golden Bear Beat, but when we return, we'll close things up. We have 2 more sports to look at. We'll take a look at volleyball as well as tennis. So stay tuned right here on KUR. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned. And welcome back here on the Golden Bear Beat. Your host, Adam Dobrowolski, as we turn to now Kutztown University volleyball as we continue with the KU Fall Preview show here on KUR. But for this Kutztown volleyball team, in many ways, it's going to be as young as ever in recent memory. It's a case where obviously every year you have a lot of incoming freshmen and transfers, but this is a team that did not have a lot of returning players from last year. You had 4 seniors graduate on a team that had about 15 all in total when the season ended last year. Some players of the other 11 not returning. And then you add in that strong freshman class. About half of the roster, maybe even more than that, is new to the team. So this is going to be a Golden Bears team that has a lot of transition on the fly under head coach John Gump. But this was something that the Golden Bears were still excited about, having those extra players, and that's certainly something that's going to be important for the Golden Bears, team depth, and that's one thing Coach Gump talked about.
Well, the one thing it does, it creates competition in the gym. There's no default playing time. You know, kids are having to battle, and we've kind of pushed, competing against each other to make the team better, and while that's happening, individuals will get better as well. But the other thing that's done, we've had a couple of kids get banged up a little bit this week, but it hasn't really interfered with our ability to continue to go hard in live situations because we have, plenty of people.
In terms of the freshman class, the one player that truly stands out is going to be the setter, and Anna Conti. She's kind of the key cog for change for the Golden Bears. Last year, 2 senior setters graduating, Kim Gomber, Dana Wright. Kutztown had themselves set up in a 5-2. They're going to go to a 6-1 now with the freshman Conti as the server. So obviously for her, there's a big amount of expectations, but she just talked about comparing what she expected from a collegiate program to what's happening right now.
I mean, I expected everybody here to be great, really good, and so I know I have to keep working harder to try to meet everybody else's expectations because everybody's at such a high level, and it's just a different tempo of volleyball. It's just so much fun, and I know me and the other freshmen are just going to keep working hard to try to play to our best abilities.
And for Conti, it's going to be about communication with her teammates, whoever's on the court, setting up the attacking style of the offense. And one of those key players who will hopefully be getting a lot of kills fed from Conti, junior Chelsea Braga. Last year finished second on the team in attacks and digs, and she hopes to move to the top spot on the team this year statistically, but she talked about what she's seen so far in the freshman as the setter.
Well, actually, I feel really comfortable with her already. She's really easy to talk to, so if we ever have a set that I don't like I can tell her right away, and she's very understanding, and she likes getting criticism. She's very, very well with that, so I feel very comfortable having her on the court with me.
Some other freshmen who've stood out so far, you have an outside hitter in Liama Goodrich, who at 5'10" has a lot of power. Shayna Haas is another setter along with Conti, has done a great job. And then some players in the defensive side, like Madison Brake, really could give this team a good chance to build upon their record last year, which was a little bit down year for the Golden Bears, a team that usually puts together 20-plus wins. Last year for the Golden Bears, they finished with a 14-19 overall record. But also new to the team, you have 2 former KU basketball players in Allie York and Avery Hodgson. You remember them with Janet Malouf's team. York, after 2 years removed playing basketball, now moves back to volleyball. She'll be an outside hitter. And Coach Gump talked about her progression so far, saying how she's been able to pick things up offensively rather quickly, but the stuff that will take a little bit longer to get into complete game shape are the little things. As for Hodgson, he talked about her size at 6 feet even, a chance to really stand out on this team. But some other players who stand out. You have a 6'1" junior in Danielle Van Buren who will play the right side along with a fellow junior in Kelsey Cromer, and they have some different things that they can throw against opposing defenses, and that's something that Van Buren talked about.
Yeah, it's definitely different having a lefty. She will run things differently than I will, and it's a great advantage sometimes. Having a righty is great advantage, having a lefty is great advantage. It's the situation, but hopefully it works out well for us this year.
and Van Buren, the righty, Cromer, the lefty. They will be some key players, but it ultimately comes to what happens up the middle. You have one of two seniors in Nicole Brumbley, the other one being Emily Hepler, and Hepler talked about what's needed to move this team up in terms of leadership, communicating, but between Brumbley and fellow middle hitter Audrey Stringer, big chance for these Golden Bears to be strong in the middle, and that's something that Coach Gump talked about.
For Nicole, it's just continuing the really good year she had for us last year. For Audrey, it's a different position, but she's comfortable with the offense. What I think is going to really help Audrey is a lot of the things that she developed when we moved her to right side last year are going to benefit her with the move back to the middle. It's going to make her a more versatile player in serve-receive situations, and we're looking forward to take advantage of that.
The Golden Bears begin their season tonight on the Golden Bear Network at 7 p.m. against Philadelphia University. They also host this weekend the Kutztown Classic. They'll play Friday against Caldwell College. Have a pair of games on Saturday, but then after that they have a bunch of weekend tournaments before getting into PSAC play with some crossover September 27th, and they'll be back home after that, October 4th. So something that makes conditioning a big thing for this team, and they're hoping with this freshman, with the freshmen and with the depth, youth and depth, two key things that can keep this team fresh moving forward for hopefully what's a bounce-back 2013 season. And now let's wrap things up with perhaps the most successful team of the ones we'll mention, the Kutztown tennis teams. Last year, a real great spring for KU tennis on both sides. The women's side winning the PSAC East Division for the first time in school history, and they were able to celebrate that with a graduating player, Radima Barua. It's going to be a lot about team chemistry, trying to find that chemistry once again. But for the men's side, you have in the fall defending PSAC singles champion Rushi Amin, defending doubles champions in Amin and Varun Desai, and then the Golden Bears winning the PSAC last year, making it to the regional tournament, and Amin was the team tournament MVP. So for the Golden Bears, they have a lot of excitement. Coach Suresh Ramamurthy talked about the season keys for this team and the tournament prep.
At this point, I would say the biggest new concern and our goal is to find the right chemistry again, because we've had the men's team, they know each other all very well. The women's team, obviously the team is new, so once we find the right chemistry, right combinations, we should be in good shape.
So that's obviously going to be big for these Golden Bears, and for the women, they kind of have to quickly get themselves into the mode of that team chemistry, because the individual championships will be coming up not this weekend, but the following weekend. This weekend will be a tournament-style meet against Millersville, but Coach talked about that tournament prep.
Well, the preparation is an ongoing process. To be quite honest, we are not 100% ready, and that's why this tournament, singles and doubles, will give us a better feel for the following weekend when we go for the PSAC individuals. But I'm hoping between the workouts and playing a lot of challenge matches right now, which is what they're doing, that we will be sharp enough to do better next weekend.
And to hear from some of the players that will be key for this year on the men's side, obviously Rushi Amin, he's looking to continue what he did last year, and he says that fitness will be the key to repeat.
It's the physical aspect of it, the fitness, because once you get stronger and more agile, you now all of a sudden have that confidence that you can outrun and you can outlast your opponent in any situation. And that's what gives you the confidence to put that one extra ball in play. And that's what I think is the key for everything. And that's what's going to be a big key determining factor.
As for Varun Desai, he talked about some of the unseen things for the fans' perspective in terms of team chemistry. Again, this is a team that's pretty much returning its entire roster. You have Amin, you have Desai, you have some of the seniors, Bilal Sari, Parth Gurmi, you have some of the younger players coming back, Rich Lichtenwalner, Matt McGuire, Ben Nace. This is a team that does a good job feeding off each other in terms of critique.
The thing is, we all spend a lot of time together on and off the court. So on the court, everyone's obviously training hard. There's not as much communication, but once you're relaxed, you have your shower, everyone's having dinner, we tend to really talk about what we feel the other person could have done better in a match situation, like say we play a practice match, then what we kind of critique each other. Because at the end of the day, if one of us wins a match but the rest of the guys lose, we're not moving forward. We move forward as a team. So you got to make sure you get the best. Like each of us need to squeeze the life out of each player to get the best results, so that Kutztown as a team, Kutztown tennis comes up on top, and not just say myself or another player on the team.
As for the women, Tori Zander, a senior for the Golden Bears, in fact, a lone senior, she'll be a standout player, as will Hannah Pipkin. And Zander talked about finding the teams for this Golden Bear women's team, finding the dual teams as they can do in the doubles matches to try and find a way to have a winning fall.
I've played with Hannah in the past, and it was a good team. So I would be great. It would be great to play with her. I've been playing with one of the new girls, Jess, so far. But as far as doubles, we're still working on that, getting people together and make sure we can find teams that work well together.
And there, Tori mentioned Jess Burns. She's a freshman. There's a few other freshmen as well, as you have Zakara Harley and Alyssa Konis who will play in, as well as some of the returning players like a Cynthia Good and a Chelsea Davis. So this is overall a team that is still trying to build its momentum from last year, and that is something that Zander talked about.
We're definitely excited. Last year we ended really strong, and we want to continue with that. We have some new players, and they are definitely stepping up to the challenge. They're proving themselves, and everyone else over the summer has definitely improved. So we just need to figure out who plays well together then and just go from there.
Kutztown will host Millersville Saturday in a tournament-style invitational to get things all prepped up for next weekend's PSAC Individual Championships in Bloomsburg. That'll just about do it for this edition of the Golden Bear Beat. This is Adam Dobrowolski signing out from the KUR studios. Go on to KUBears.com, find out about Saturday's busy schedule here on campus. You have plenty of things going on: tennis, field hockey, soccer, volleyball. Football, obviously, is at Clarion, and it'll be here on KUR. Some exciting times coming up here in the next week. We have some things on the Golden Bear Beat coming up tonight, tomorrow night, Saturday, and Tuesday. Until next time, this is Adam Dobrowolski signing out, and let's remember, let's go Golden Bears.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of the Golden Bear Beat. Make sure to stay updated on everything involving Kutztown University athletics at KUBears.com and tune in for weekly broadcasts every Thursday at noon on KUR.